The hour is 7 p.m. Having arrived, I'll call to order this regular meeting of Keene City Council. This meeting is televised live on channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted to the city website by the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you'd like to receive an electronic city council packet to reference during future meetings, please contact the city clerk's office during regular business hours and go to the city's website and subscribe to the city's meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. I'd ask for the clerk to please call the roll.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Gladys Johnson.
Here.
Michael Giacomo.
Here.
Randy Alfilio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Here.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omerod. Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman. Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
Kate M. Bosley. Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Thank you very much. Councilor Williams, will you please lead us in the pledge? Okay, so tonight is the start of the annual operating budget review. Councilors will find the proposed operating budget on your desk. Special meetings of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee will occur over the next 2 weeks. The FOP Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, May 10th, starting at 5:30 p.m. The committee's regular meeting on Thursday will also start at 5:30 p.m. On the following week, the committee starts again with a meeting on Monday, May 16th. If necessary and needed, they'll have another meeting on Wednesday, May 18th, and is also identified as a tentative FOP budget review date. So make sure that you make as many of those as you can, please. All of these budget meetings will start at 5:30. Sandwiches, chips, and cookies will be served, and all councilors are encouraged to attend. The Keene Veterans Council is extending its annual welcome to participate in the Memorial Day ceremony and parade on Monday, May 30th. The parade will start at 10 a.m. and will form on Gilboa Ave as usual and proceed up to the Veterans Monument at the Keene Parks and Recreation Center. As advance notice for each councilor's personal vacation schedules, pay attention to this one, the council's summer vacation schedule will start with the cancellation of the July 27th meeting, the 28th MSFI and FOP meetings, followed by the August 4th City Council meeting, as well as the August 10th and 11th PLD and FOP committee meetings. The council will return to its normal meeting schedule for the August 18th meeting. At this time, I'd accept a motion from Councilor Powers on the minutes, and Councilor Greenwald for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the minutes from the April 21st, 2022 regular meeting as printed.
And I second such.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Greenwald. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So at this time, I would invite Court Blomquist up to receive the proclamation for National Public Works Week. All right. So whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure systems, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the residents of the city of Keene, and whereas our community relies heavily on public works in order to sustain our overall public health, quality of life, and general well-being, and whereas these services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of our public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees. These individuals are responsible for rebuilding, probably rebuilding a lot, improving and protecting our city's transportation, drinking water, wastewater, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to the daily lives of our citizens. Whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest in understanding the importance of public works and public works programs in the city of Keene. And whereas this year, the American Public Works Association has chosen Ready and Resilient as the theme for 2022, National Public Works Week has been celebrated since 1960, and this year marks the 62nd anniversary. Now, therefore, I, Georges Hansel, Mayor of the City of Keene, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 15th, 2022, through Saturday, May 21st, 2022, as Public Works Week in the city of Keene, New Hampshire, and do hereby call upon all of our citizens to join with the City of Keene Public Works Department representatives and the American Public Works Association and government agencies and activities, events and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national and community health, safety, and quality of life. In witness whereof, I herein do set my hand in the official seal of the City of Keene this 5th day of May 2022. Thank you, Court. Do you have anything you want to say?
Sure. On Public Works, I cannot not resist a moment to say a couple things.
Sure.
Oh, turn it on.
It's good, you're good.
I'm good. Okay.
That's enough.
I thought I was good. That's enough? Oh, wow. That's okay. Well, again, I appreciate the council and the community's recognition of Public Works. Public Works professionals are those, again, we're responsible for all the infrastructure, the operation maintenance of all those things that really are the bedrock of a community and the bedrock of the city. Without those, communities don't exist. Clean water, proper disposal of waste, transportation systems that are efficient and safe, all make what a community needs to thrive and move into the future. Right now is a very unique time in the public works, and I'm going to do a workforce development spiel here too, because this is a unique time in the public works community right now, as with the American Recovery Act, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We have the opportunity to be executing significant funding levels that have not been seen since the Eisenhower era when we developed the interstate system. This is going to be challenging for both the community, and this summer you'll be starting to experience those things you normally see. Construction on Upper Winchester Street, downtown is coming. But it's going to be challenging because, like all other industries, we are short of people in the public works profession. And I can't encourage enough for folks to come out and visit what we do. Please call us about having an opportunity to come out and check out our wastewater plant, our water plant, our solid waste facility, see how these things work. Because it's an opportunity to work in an industry that really has an impact on a community. It also is an industry where you can start out in the morning dealing with a water line issue and end the day dealing with a flooding issue somewhere else. So I encourage folks to come on out, visit, give us a call. We're going to get tours. We'll even take you around and show you some of the construction projects that are ongoing. And if you have an interest, please contact us. We can help getting you folks connected up with whether it's working for the city or working for our partners, our engineering firms and our construction contractors. They're all looking for those professionals that are really going to make our communities grow. So again, thank you very much, Mayor. And again, please, councilors, if you have not visited us in a while, please come on out. And I know our folks are always pleased when they have an opportunity to show off the things that they do. Thank you again.
Great, thanks for So now I have a somewhat of a surprise proclamation, but it's also Municipal Clerks Week, so I would ask that Patty come and join me up here.
Oh, my gracious.
We expect the speech.
Right,
Thank you.
we'll put you on the spot. So whereas the Office of Municipal Clerk,
Stand up, Patty.
a time-honored and vital part of our local government, exists throughout the world and is the oldest among public servants, dating back to before biblical times. And whereas colonists who first came to America realized the importance of government record keeping. The office of the clerk was one of the first established in Plymouth, Massachusetts, to keep all essential records for birth, marriages, and deaths for the church, as well as various other records of appointments, deeds, meetings, and the election of officers at the annual town meeting. And whereas the Office of Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of governments at other levels. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the municipal clerk's pledge is to improve the administration of affairs of the office of municipal clerk through participation in continuing education, to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, to provide consistent standards of conduct, fairness, respect, responsibility, trust, and above all, confidentiality, to render equal and the highest levels of service to all, and to be ever mindful that the public office is a public trust. Therefore, be it resolved that I, George S. Hansel, Mayor of the City of Keene, do hereby recognize the week of May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our city clerk, Tricia Little, and all the municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and the exemplary dedication to their communities they represent. In witness whereof, I herein do set my hand in the official seal of the City of Keene this 5th day of May 2022. Thank you, Patty. You're not going to give us a speech?
No.
So at this time, I would invite our former Fire Chief, Mark Howard, to please join me up here. Thank you. Okay. How you doing? Good, man. Nice to see you. You're looking well. So whereas Mark F. Howard began his career with the City of Keene the 1st of August, 1993, and as a firefighter ambulance attendant, and he worked his way through the ranks, serving operationally as a fire lieutenant, acting captain, captain, acting deputy chief, acting fire chief, and then advancing to fire chief on the 21st of October 2013. And in addition, he was appointed by the state as the Deputy Forest Fire Warden, and in turn, the Forest Fire Warden, as well as Assistant Emergency Management Director by the City Council in September 2015. And whereas exemplifying his passion and dedication to all aspects of his job, and with the goal to create an even better department, Mark has enhanced and advanced the level of emergency services provided by the department, adding specialized emergency management services training, using IV pumps to administer medications in the field, and adding ventilators to use in conjunction with advanced airway equipment to treat patients with specific respiratory needs. And whereas during his tenure, the Keene Fire Department made a significant impact on safety and preparedness for our community, including improvement of our ISO fire rating, largely within the scoring for the city's fire prevention activities and the life safety inspections program. And whereas under his leadership and through planning and collaboration, his department has worked to maintain personnel, equipment, and apparatus to protect the city, not only today, but in the future, by securing significant grant dollars to save Keene taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars in needed training and equipment. And whereas an underlying, unyielding advocate for employee safety, he has supported mental health training and other assistance necessary for our first responders, working to break down stigmas and other barriers often associated with these wellness needs, so they, in turn, can take care of our community. And whereas Chief Howard played a critical role in the city's emergency management team handling the COVID-19 pandemic, reducing the burden of stress on individuals, businesses, and organizations of the community, as well as on the city itself, and serving as an invaluable resource to the city manager and the mayor, departments, our local partners, the state, and our region. And whereas always seeking to improve operations without affecting employee safety, Mark is to be commended for his outstanding accomplishments as a leader and a mentor to his department and professional peers, as well as for his acute knowledge in all things related to fire, emergency medical services, and hazardous materials. And whereas Mark retired on the 31st of March, 2022, with almost 29 years of dedicated and honorable service to the city of Keene. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Keene hereby extends its sincerest thanks to Mark F. Howard for his dedicated service and wishes him the very best through all of his retirement years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution properly engrossed be presented to Mark in appreciation for his many years of service to the residents of Keene, the Monadnock region, and beyond. Thank you very much for your service.
It was really a humbling experience to work for the city for the last 29 years, to be honest with you. We work with great people, including all of you. I didn't realize, excuse me, how much stress I was under till a month ago, about 2 days after I got out of work. Actually, it might even been when Donald was, the week before, I think I learned that Donald was gonna be the new fire chief. There was like this huge weight and burden off my shoulders. I wish the department, Jeff, who's been, at one side, doing the best that he can do every day, along with the other 50-plus members of the department to protect our community. It's a challenging job for police, fire, and all the other departments in the city. So please support them, because the reality is, we live, work, and play in Keene because of the assets of our workforce. And as the outsider now looking in, there's clearly a workforce, and we all know there's been a workforce issue. But you have to take care of your employees. And I know the city's, anything that I ever brought to you, you supported, being fiscally responsible to the best of your ability, but that's critical, and it needs to continue. So thank you, and I'll see all of you soon again. I'm not going anywhere, so again, thank you.
Hope so,
Thank you,
Mark.
Mayor.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Terry. A lot of years. Not that long. 6, 8, basic round one.
All right. So next on our regular agenda, we have a public hearing. I'd ask the clerk to please read the notice of the hearing.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Keene City Council relative to Ordinance O 2022-02, which proposes to amend the Keene zoning map of the city of Keene from rural and agricultural to low-density 1 for a 12.29-acre tract of land owned by the Sandra R. Hendry Trust. The parcel is located on the west side of 19 Whitcombs Mill Road and identified with TMP number 237-018-000.
Thank you. So this public hearing is the opportunity for the public to comment on the zoning map change on Whitcombs Mill Road. I'd invite Mary Brunner, Senior Planner, to provide an explanation of the ordinance and the Joint Planning Board PLD Committee review.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this on? Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mary Brunner, Senior Planner. I'm here tonight just to give a brief introduction to Ordinance 2022-02. So this ordinance proposes to amend the zoning map of the city of Keene by changing the zoning of one specific parcel of land located at 19 Whitcombs Mill Road from the rural and agriculture districts to low-density 1. The total land area that would be impacted is 12.29 acres, and The parcel that is the subject of this request is owned by Sandra R. Henry Trust, and the applicant is James Fippard on behalf of the petitioner, Sandra R. Henry Trust. So this parcel of land is located on the west side of Whitcombs Mill Road between Arch Street and New Hampshire Route 9. It's currently undeveloped. It's a mix of forested land with some gravel areas. The vast majority of the parcel is in the rural district. I think it's about 11.84 acres is in the rural district, and the remaining like 0.45 is in the agriculture district. It's just the small corner in the southwest of the property that's in agriculture. Adjacent uses include the Langdon Place of Keene directly to the east, which is across Whitcombs Mill Road from the property. There's also single-family homes to the north, Cheshire Rail Trail and forested land to the south, and agricultural land to the west. And this property does have access to city sewer via a 50-foot wide easement that goes across the Langdon Place of Keene property. So it would be connecting into the city sewer on Arch Street. And then if this zoning map amendment application is approved, the applicant would be required, if any development were to occur, to connect to city sewer at their own expense. So the application for the zoning map amendment was submitted on January 11th and went to City Council for the first reading on January 20th and was referred to the Joint Committee of the Planning Board and Planning Licenses and Development Committee. The Joint Committee held a public workshop on this ordinance on March 14th. And during the public workshop, the Joint Committee discussed several issues, including the availability of city water for this site. The low-density 1 district requires access to city sewer, and it also requires access to city water if it is deemed to be available by the Public Works Director. In addition, the Joint Committee discussed potential traffic impacts, including the potential for increase in left turns from Route 9 onto Whitcombs Mill Road, as well as the condition of the one-lane bridge that goes over Whitebrook. And then there was also a discussion on whether or not this zone change would be considered spot zoning, just because changing it from rural to low-density 1 would create a parcel of land that's low-density 1 that would be surrounded by other zoning districts. However, I think the result of that discussion was really that the proposed zoning change really does meet the intent of the low-density 1 districts. That was the overall conclusion. There were no comments from the public during the workshop phase, and the result of the workshop was that the planning board voted unanimously that the proposed zoning change is consistent with the community master plan because it's creating more opportunity for housing development. And the PLD committee voted to ask the mayor to set a public hearing for this ordinance, which is what we're here for today. And I should note that following the public workshop, the Public Works Director did determine that the applicant wouldn't be required to connect to city water. It would be possible for the developer to pay to extend city water if they wanted to, but they wouldn't be required to do that. And I can go into more details about the specific proposal. However, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll leave it there and I'm free to answer questions.
Are there any questions for city staff, recognizing that this will be going to PLD, so it can be discussed there as well? All right. Thank you, Mary. At this time, I would invite Jim Fippard, who's representing the petitioner, to give us an overview of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Fippard, Brickstone Land Use Consultants, 185 Winchester Street in Keene. I'm here tonight representing the Sandra R. Henry Trust, who is the landowner of the parcel that we're requesting a rezoning on tonight. The land area is outlined in red on the plan that I'm showing before you. Arch Street is here at the top of the page. This is Whitcombs Mill Road, and Route 9 is here at the bottom of the page. So this property is on the outskirts of the city's utility systems that, as they expanded westward, pretty much ended with the construction of the Langdon Place property, the senior housing and nursing home. This is the long building that you see here, which is directly across the street from this site. So that was built in the 1980s, and I did work on that project and the site plan. As part of that project, we extended a city sewer line from Arch Street under White Brook, which is the blue stream that you see here on the plan, and into the site to service this building. At that time, we also continued it across to this corner of the building, and then we created a 50-foot easement that was given to the city of Keene to allow for a public utility extension to extend the sewer to Wickham's Mill Road, assuming at some point in the future, we didn't know when, that there would be a need or a desire to extend that sewer line, and that time, I believe, has come. I've worked on this property for a long time. My brothers and I owned it in the early 80s, and we sold it to the current owners, the Sandra Henry Trust, in 1986. And since that time, I've got a whole drawer full of housing plans for potential developments on this property. And I'll tell you a little bit about the property. This is an old gravel pit. It was operated by Arthur Whitcomb Company in the 1950s and the 1960s and abandoned in the early 1970s. So if you go to the property today, there's no buildings on it. There's still a gravel road that comes in from Wickham Mill Road into the site, and you can drive in there. We have it gated. But there's a large portion in the center of the property which is now a wetland. At the time the gravel pit was in operation, this was actually much deeper, and it was a pond. And that was a frequent feature in gravel pits in the area, especially during that time period. They would create a low spot in the middle of the gravel pit, so the drainage would collect there, and any sediment would collect into that area and could be controlled and contained on the site. Over the years, it filled in more and more and more until it's now a vegetated wetland. So if you walked on the property today, all of this is forested, all the way around. The Cheshire Rail Trail is immediately adjacent to the site on the south side. On the north side is White Brook, which crosses in this area. So it's a convenient spot, convenient to Keene, but you feel like you're isolated in a wooded area, and with access to city utilities. And this is the existing easement that we're proposing to utilize to construct a sewer line extension. And the reason we're proposing the sewer line extension, obviously, is to avoid the need to do septic systems in this area, and then to seek the rezoning to allow a little bit higher density. As you all know, the land areas available for construction in Keene are few and far between, fewer all the time. So there's a need for this. I'm getting calls every week about what is the status of this. Is there going to be houses built this year? Why is it taking so long? So we're anxious to proceed with this, and that's just a polite nudge for you. So obviously Langdon Place also has city water available, and city water exists on Arch Street and then loops back up Felt Road. And extending city water is a different project than extending city sewer. And the reason for that is we can't build a long water line that's a dead end. That's a no-no in the engineering world. You create a lot of problems. It's difficult to control the pressure and the capacity of that water system. It's much more expensive to maintain because you can get sedimentation collecting at the end of the dead end. So you always have to loop water systems, or you should loop wherever possible. So to construct a water line extension up Wickham's Mill Road, under the stream, and into the site is about 2,000 linear feet. And then we would want to loop it back down that easement to the water system existing in Langdon Place. And so I actually drew a design for it and brought it to 2 different site contractors and got cost estimates to build a water line. Almost $600,000 to complete the water line construction because of the costs of drilling under the stream and the appurtenances that go with it, fire hydrants, thrust blocks, gate valves, and all the different connections. So And this is zoned rural today, all but this little corner of the property, which is in the agriculture zone. Nobody knows how that happened, but I think it was just the way the line was drawn. So anyway, the cost of extending the water line to this area, today we're allowed to build 2 homes on the 12 acres. It's 5 acre zoning. And if we did a CRD, we could do 3 homes. So that's $200,000 per house just to extend the water line. And then it's another $150,000 to extend the sewer line across the road. So that's the reality of building today and why it's so difficult for developers and contractors to do new housing developments and provide it at reasonable costs. It's just impossible. Unless you have grant money or access to low-interest loans, things like that, it's just impossible. So that's what we're facing on the development side. So on this site, we felt that the water system is just not feasible. And I think city staff, after they reviewed it, agreed. It's just not feasible for the density that we're looking for. In your staff report, and I don't know if you've all seen this, but this is the staff report that was prepared for the joint committee meeting. And in here, it talks about the features on the property. And one of the concerns addressed was that we could just turn around and sell this if we get it rezoned to some developer who want to do the maximum, 26 units. And the 26 units is possible if you extend the water line and the sewer line into the site. The problem is, you can't fit 26 units on the property because you lose 2 acres to the existing wetland area on the site, and then you're left with essentially the perimeter areas. And that's what we'll be proposing is a conservation residential development, a CRD. We used to call them clusters in the old days. So we're grouping the homes along a new road that would be constructed into the site. And that's not what you're voting on. You're not approving a development plan or anything like that. If this property gets rezoned, we'll be preparing a subdivision application and going to the Keene Planning Board and seeking approval for that to occur. We'll be proposing to construct the sewer line at our cost up to Wickham's Mill Road and then into the site. And we'll propose it to be a public sewer line. So there will be easements given to the city of Keene for the public sewer line extending into the private development. And this developer, the Henry family, they're proposing a private road, not a city street. That doesn't mean it won't become a city street at some point in the future if it's built correctly. So that is a possibility that could happen. But the 26 number is just a number based on zoning calculations. It's not looking at reality. It's not looking at the wetlands on the site. And then on the very edges of the property, it's all steep slopes where they excavated down as steep as they could to get all the gravel they could off the property. And that's the way the gravel pits were done. And then they left the site as it was in the 1970s. The 155, which is the state's excavation regulations, didn't exist at the time that they closed this gravel pit. So they were never required to restore it, to reclaim it. Today, if you build a gravel pit, you're required to save topsoil. You're required to post bonds to guarantee it will be replanted with vegetation and trees to reestablish the stability of the site. So that never happened here. So this was a gravel pit that just went fallow. As you walk around, even through the woods, if you scuff your feet, you're not in loam, you're in gravel. There's still gravel there on the site, but we're down so low, close to groundwater, that they're not allowed to excavate. So if somebody came back in and wanted to open this as a gravel pit, they would go through 155E and find out there's nothing left to take because you're down to groundwater. The state won't let you excavate through groundwater to get the gravel that's below that. So our proposal will be to work with what's here. We're going to restore the site. He's already reclaimed parts of the site on his own. He's brought in loam. There's piles of loam on the property. So he's waiting to proceed with the construction so they can then do a good job and build a subdivision on this site. So we're asking you to consider allowing the rezoning. One of the questions that came out of the review was if we're going to extend this sewer line, how do we know there's enough capacity to allow up to 12 more homes to be built? So, working with city staff, we retained VHB, your consultant, the city's consultant, who manages your computer model for your existing municipal sewer system. They looked at what's existing for the lines in Arch Street, where the sewer would eventually go, and all the way down to the interceptor line at Bent Court. And I was guessing that because we're at the perimeter, the outer edge of our sewer system, you're looking at all single-family homes, no big users other than Langdon Place. I said to the city engineer, I bet we're not using 10% of the capacity in that system. I shouldn't have to pay $2,000 for the study to be done, but I did. And the study came back, and the existing system is operating at 4 to 7%. So we have over 90% capacity available in the sewer system that's out there. So adding homes out here is not going to add to the city's burden for infrastructure costs to upgrade that in the near future, because there's plenty of capacity existing. So that was good news, and that's a written report that's in the file. So if you need to see that, you can have access to it. There were issues concerned about traffic. What's the traffic impact? The rule of thumb for single-family homes is 10 cars per day is what's generated for vehicle trips. So that's leaving to go to work in the morning, coming back home. Each of those is a vehicle trip. So 10 trips per day per house. So you're looking at roughly 120 vehicle trips in a 24-hour period. If you do the math from the formula in the trip generation manuals, it's actually 114 vehicle trips that are estimated. So then you look at peak hours. So during the morning peak hours on Arch Street and on Route 9, will there be a dramatic change due to cars coming and going from this future subdivision? And they estimated 9 vehicle trips in the morning peak hour, and that's a 1-hour period, and 14 in the afternoon peak hour. So the thresholds, the Keene Planning Board says if we're impacting more than 100 vehicles a day, they may require a traffic report. New Hampshire DOT, who controls the access at Route 9, says we don't want a traffic report unless you're impacting that intersection with more than 100 vehicle trips in an hour. So we're way below that threshold. So that's not going to be a significant impact. There is a bridge crossing White Brook right here on Wickham Mill Road, which is a 1-lane bridge. And we kind of had mixed feeling over the years the more we looked at it. The city has done work on the bridge in the last few years. I think a tractor-trailer truck took out the guardrail or something, but they fixed it. I think it's on the red list, so something that may be upgraded at some point in the future. But I look at that as traffic calming. You're not going to go flying down Wickham's Mill Road and approaching that 1-lane bridge without slowing down and being cautious, because there is enough traffic throughout the day. You just don't know if you're going to meet another car coming the other way, and then who goes first. So it gets worked out. I've never seen an accident there. I'm not saying there hasn't been one, maybe there has, but I believe that will help to regulate traffic on Wickham's Mill Road and keep the speed travels slow and reasonable. I'll give you a quick glimpse, although this isn't really what you're considering. This is what we're considering for a subdivision layout. And as a CRD, we're going to preserve more than 50% of the land area as permanent open space. And then we have smaller lot areas for each of the units that could be developed. And we're going to propose a mix of single-family houses and duplexes. And that's how we're proposing to regulate the cost to the best degree that we can and help to keep it affordable. We hope that this will provide workforce housing in our community. I'm doing work for several companies that are looking to expand in Keene. Some companies have other divisions in other states. So I was just talking this morning with a large industrial client who's going to propose addition. In a couple months, I'll be bringing it in. And he wants to bring 20 people up from New Jersey. Jim, where can they live? Where's housing available in Keene first, because he wants them close to their business. And then if not Keene, what about Swansea? What about Marlborough? What about Gilson? And the realtors all have their MLS listings, and they'll say they can find them houses, but without a lot of variety to choose from, it's a difficult challenge. So I think adding to the housing stock in the area is important. It's going to be more important as time goes on. For the city of Keene, it'll contribute to our economic development. So I hope you can support this request. And if you have questions or issues, please ask.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any questions? Counselor Filio?
Yeah, just a question on the wetlands. Were you planning on leaving those alone or looking for compensatory storage?
We're going to leave the wetlands intact. We are going to propose to construct a fire pond on the property. Since we're not extending the city water line in with hydrants, we want to build a fire pond with fire department access and a dry hydrant.
Further questions? All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
So at this time, we'll open up the public portion of the hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this from the public? All right. Being no comments, I'll close the public hearing except for written public comments, which will still be accepted up to 1 p.m. next Tuesday, May 10th. Written comments must be signed and submitted to the city clerk's office by that date and time to be included in the record. The Planning Licenses and Development Committee will be making a recommendation to the full council, and this item will be before them at their next regular meeting. That brings us to nominations, number 1.
This evening, the mayor is nominating a Kenneth Cost to serve as an alternate to the planning board with a term to expire December 31, 2024.
And this will be tabled to the next regular meeting. We have communications, number 1.
We have our annual request from the Keene Music Festival for use of city property for September 3rd, 2022.
Thank you. This will be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, number 2.
This is a request from Keene Pride. I remember that the last council meeting, they received their license to use city property. They are now coming forward to ask that the city absorb the cost for police, public works, and fire personnel for that event, scheduled for September 18th, 2022.
Thank you. This will be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. Committee reports, number 1.
We have an informational report from the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee. The issue was the Eversource Energy tree trimming on scenic roads. That report was accepted as informational.
And we'll file this into the record as informational, number 2.
Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee report relative to that tree trimming on scenic roads. On a vote of 4-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends the council authorize Eversource Energy to perform all tree trimming services on requested scenic roads, which include Concord Road, Concord Hill Drive, Moore Farm Road, and the Nims Road, in accordance with the recommendations of the Conservation Commission to leave the snags, which are the dead vertical trees, in place if possible.
Looking at Councilor Greenwald for a motion. Councilor Filio for a second, please.
Carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And we have a motion from Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Filio. Councilor Greenwald.
Turning on my microphone, yielding to Council Filio, who aptly dealt with this issue in committee.
Oh, thank you. Pretty self-explanatory, the background minutes. We did hear from a representative from Eversource about the tree cutting on the scenic road. It's obviously it's a state statute, so, we went along with it. Council Williams did ask questions about the state statute, and staff is going to get back to us concerning the regularities or irregularities about it, so we can get more information on it. But at this point, we voted unanimously to approve it. We hope you will also.
Thank you very much, Councilor Filio. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Which brings us to number 3.
Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee report relative to a request that Railroad Square be designated as a smoke-free zone. On a vote of 4-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends that the portion of the request for park attributes be referred to staff, and recommends that the smoke-free zone portion of the request be placed on more time.
Counselor Greenwald for a motion, please. Counselor Filio for a second.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And we have a motion from
Again,
Counselor
yielding to,
Greenwald, second by
Counselor
Counselor Filio. Counselor Filio.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we had a constituent come in asking for, a couple of issues about smoke-free and also about the city being involved with the public as far as maybe having a park or more useful area out there. So you can kind of divide it into two, that the smoke-free park be placed in more time for the city attorney has a chance to look at it while he enjoyed himself on vacation. Welcome back. And the other part of it, just go to city staff. So at this point, that was a recommendation.
Thank you very much, Counselor Filio. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 4.
We have an informational report from the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee. They had a presentation on the downtown trails.
Thank you very much. Counselor Greenwald for a motion. Counselor Filio for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Filio.
Counselor Filio.
Thank you, Your Honor. We just had a informational report, pretty self-explanatory. We all agreed on it. We hope you will also.
Thank you
Pretty
very
simple.
much. Thank you very much, Counselor Filio. Any
We
discussion?
agree.
See, you're doing a great job, by the way.
We concur.
Any,
To the point.
any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Oh,
What do
Counselor,
you want?
ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Number 5.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the wastewater treatment plant aeration pipe replacement change order. Number 1, on a vote of 3-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute change order number 1 with Kingsbury Corporate Construction for the wastewater treatment plant aeration pipe replacement project for an amount not to exceed $11,168 for contract number 012207.
Thank you. Counselor Remy for a motion. Counselor Powers for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Remy, seconded by Counselor Powers. Counselor Remy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This was a pretty straightforward change order. So there's an aeration pipe. It's about 150 feet long at the wastewater treatment plant. When this was originally spec'd out, it called for a specific type of fitting. This is a 16-inch pipe. Apparently that type of fitting isn't available beyond 14 inches, so there's a slightly different one that's needed. It's adding a little bit of cost to the project. The city manager's authority goes for a 10% change order. This is 10.6%, so we're voting on $11,168 for the change order.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. City manager.
Few updates for you this evening. The city has been recognized as Tree City by the Arbor Day Foundation. This is the city's 43rd year as Tree City, and this year marks the 150th anniversary of Arbor Day. And I have they put the sign down, but I had it standing up. We have a sign and all. It's very nice. And then we recently held our City Arbor Day ceremony on April 29th near the Harrison Street Bridge and involved participants from Cedar Crest Center. So it was a great turnout. We had a great event. Green Up Keene. I would like to thank everyone that participated in Green Up Keene. It was a very successful event. We estimate more than 200 people volunteered and cleaned up approximately 3,300 pounds of trash as part of this effort, and it's just an amazing level of volunteerism. And then I wanted to alert you that the Revenue Office will be closing on July 1st for our financial software conversion. Our fiscal year ends on June 30th, and the new year begins on July 1st, and we will be doing the transfer of our data on July 1st so that we can begin operations in the new fiscal year on that new software. We will put notice in the paper, social media, etc., to try to get the word out. So anyone with a June birthday, make sure you get in during the month of June to get your car registered, or take advantage of our online option to do your registration renewal. And then just sort of a fun opportunity that's coming to the airport. If you've ever been interested in learning how to fly, Now is your chance. On Saturday, May 14th, at the airport, the Experimental Aircraft Association is hosting a Flying Start informational program that will introduce you to the steps and requirements involved in learning to fly, tips on how to make it economical, and the opportunities that result in earning a pilot's certificate. The event will also introduce you to our local flight schools. This program will be held between 1 and 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 14th in the terminal building at the airport, and anyone with an interest in learning how to fly is invited to attend. Space is limited, so if you are interested, register at flyingstart.org, or you can check out the airport's Facebook social media account. Thank you.
Thank you, which brings us to city officer and department reports, number 1.
We have a memorandum from the Deputy Fire Chief relative to the 2019 State Homeland Security Program Critical Infrastructure Water-Related Catastrophe Grant. This is a time-sensitive grant, and it has a recommendation that the council suspend its rules to allow action on the request to authorize the manager to do all things necessary to accept and expend $9,937 awarded under the State Homeland Security Program portion of the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program, and it is meant to purchase critical infrastructure, water-related catastrophe equipment.
Thank you. We're going to need a motion to suspend the rules. I'm looking at Councilor Powers for motion. Councilor Greenwald for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to allow action upon this time-sensitive grant.
And I second that motion.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Greenwald. This is a roll call 2/3 vote. Are there any questions or comments on the suspension of the rules? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
And Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And it is unanimous. The rules are suspended, and for the actual motion, we'll be looking to Councilor Powers again, and Councilor Greenwald for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move to accept 2019 State Homeland Security Program Critical Infrastructure Water-Related Catastrophe Grant.
And I second such motion.
Thank you.
Mouthful.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Greenwald. Councilor Powers.
So this is a critical, time-sensitive item because the state has been very gracious to give out the grant money that they've received. And, you know, I got to tell you, from working with some of these grants in the past, they have gotten so much better at making sure every penny they get from the feds gets pushed out to the communities. Because as you can see, this is 2019, and they just keep cleansing through the books and the operations, see what's available. And when you got a department that always has something in the bottom drawer and can get it up there, you're going to get a grant. In this case, they had the fire at them, so it was notified down here on April 26th, but there's only 15 days for the city to accept, and we can't accept it without the council approving the manager. So that's where we're at. It's the Homeland Security grant money. It's critical infrastructure, water-related items. And actually, for $99,000, there's 56 items, critical incident items, that will be brought into the inventory, probably replace some stuff that's past its age, but it will add to our arsenal and ability to respond. And I recommend that we approve this tonight so that paperwork can fly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions, or comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous. We have one more time item. More time will be granted. And that brings us to resolutions. Number 1.
We have a memorandum from the Finance Director Treasurer along with Resolution R2209, which reads relating to the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget.
Thank you, and I'd recognize the city manager for her opening comments.
Thank you. So tonight on your desk, you have your budget books, and tomorrow they will be available electronically on our website for the public. Tonight I just want to reference a few items in the budget letter for the benefit of the council and the public as we kick off the budget review process. The municipal team has worked diligently to structure a budget with little increase on the city's portion of the tax rate, raising it slightly, 0.49%, so not even 0.5%, or $12.37 on the new tax rate for the city. That sounds confusing. We're not raising it $12. It's changing to $12.37. The city's property tax revenue is within the increased limit set by your fiscal policy. It's within these parameters that city staff developed operating and capital budget proposals supported by the vision of the city's comprehensive master plan, city council goals, and fiscal policy to continue to move the city to a sustainable future. The recommended budget considers the first year of the capital program, the 2023 to 2029 program. It's been updated and modified in the proposed budget book to reflect the changes that have occurred since the adoption of the plan in March. In order for the proposed fiscal 23 operating budget to comply with fiscal policy, changes were made to the CIP which amount to $0. They net out to zero in fiscal 23 and 24, though the funding sources have been changed. The total 7-year proposed CIP increased by $100,000, which is reflected in years 2025 and 2026, and they are due to the increases due to the additional IT infrastructure capital reserve funding of $50,000 a year. And you will see all these updates in next year's budget proposal and the update of the CIP. In addition, some of the project dates to start times have been shifted in later years. Debt schedules have been updated to reflect the recent changes for the Winchester Street construction project. If you remember, the City Council authorized increasing bonding for the Winchester Street bypass project in the amount of $584,000, which increases the interest expense by $9,490 in fiscal 23, so that's been reflected in your budget books. The City Council also approved use of unallocated fund balance for the Thompson Road design in the amount of $210,000. And once that road design is complete, construction numbers will need to be added to the fiscal 24 and 25 capital budgets, so that will be in your next year's budget proposal. The market for goods and services changing, and we heard this from our city engineer recently at MSFI. While city departments have been extremely successful accessing the various grant funding sources, this widespread access to federal funding sources has created an increasing demand for both contractors and supplies. The demand has begun driving the cost of projects up. Recent projects are being bid substantially above estimates, and some projects are generating little interest from bidders. In addition, supply chain issues are impacting access to operating supplies and supplies needed for various projects. As funds from the federal infrastructure bill become more available, this trend is likely to continue, and it will need to be monitored. It may become necessary to make further adjustments in our capital plan, the scope of our projects, and/or to adjust funding sources. The COVID-19 pandemic will continue to have long-lasting impacts on the community, the state, and the world. However, our community and our businesses have proven themselves to be resilient. Activity in the community continues to grow, and city divisions like parking and recreation, which saw downturns during the height of COVID, are back to pre-pandemic conditions. This budget includes city revenues associated with state municipal aid as we know them right now. In addition, the tax rate estimates are based on a projection of no increase to the tax base. This is a good conservative estimate. At this point in the city's overall tax rate process, both the school and county have approved budgets. setting the education and county portions of the overall rate. Considering tax rate projections provided during adoption and the recommended city budget, the total property tax rate is estimated to increase by 3.25% combined. The largest increase is estimated in the schools portion of the budget. Local and state education portion of the budget combined is increasing by 91 cents. So the tax rate is increasing by 91 cents for for the schools portion of the rate. This year, the city successfully sought congressionally dedicated funds for projects like the Body Worn Camera Program, the Heritage Rail Trail Project Phase 1, and a sewer main project. We were not successful in our efforts to get an ARPA tourism grant through EDA for the remainder of the Heritage Trail project. However, we anticipate that additional transportation funding will become available. We have once again submitted projects in our capital plan for consideration for the next round of congressionally directed funding. The continued work on our Heritage Trail, our downtown project, Fire Station 2, the rec center rehab, and a parking garage project. We will continue to seek ways to leverage outside funding opportunities. If successful, it will allow us to reduce project cost impacts in future budget years. And I need to recognize the work of our departments to put forward a budget that balances needs with affordability. In addition, I want to recognize the efforts of our finance department, specifically our finance director, Mary Howe, and senior accountant, Karen Gray. They have spent many late nights and weekend hours putting together this budget in the midst of a monumental effort to convert our financial software system. Our new tax program goes live next week, and on July 1st, we will go live with the general ledger, accounts payable, and the accounts receivable programs. We anticipate converting the payroll system by January and our utility billing system by July 2023. There's a ton of work going on behind the scenes to make all this happen. And as you heard tonight, the budget review begins Tuesday, May 10th at 5:30 at a special FLP meeting.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager. I mean, I've only looked at this budget for about 10 minutes, but I'm already really impressed. And I think the council can, if you really look at some of the lines, you'll start to see those goals and the things that you identified as being important in this budget, specifically the reduction in bonding and lots of other things. And the fact that the city manager can present us with a budget with less than 1% increase in these times when you're seeing 6% inflation on things, when we received significantly less federal funding than our counterparts at the county and the schools, and we're performing better, we're putting forward a more conservative, fiscally responsible budget. It's going to be really important that we get out in the community and we celebrate the things that we're doing well, but also point out the things that we're not responsible for. So I hope that the council takes that into account. Councilor Greenwald.
Thank you, Your Honor. A question that I'm asked, when are outside agencies? I mean, just to highlight, because that's a topic that the public seems to turn out to. What evening are the outside agencies?
First night?
Always is, because it's the council's budget.
The when?
First night, first budget review.
Tuesday?
Okay, just to bold print that, because people turn out for that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Councilor Greenwald.
Hey,
And thank you, City Manager. So we'll file the memo. This will be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, and the public hearing is set for Thursday, June 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Which brings us to number 2.
Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee report relative to Resolution R 2022-13, and it is Resolution R 2213, a resolution relating to the absolute discontinuance of a portion of the Commercial Street parking area.
And we'll file the report. Councilors Giacomo, Johnson, Roberts, and Chadbourne were not able to attend the site visit, so they'll have to abstain from voting, just a reminder. Looking at Councilor Greenwald for a motion to adopt.
thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the resolution and the adoption of Resolution R 2022-13.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Greenwald.
Thank you. Pretty simple. This is basically a lot line adjustment. It would be, in general terms, something to do with moving from the parking lot into the skateboard park area, just realigning some boundary points. Nothing really consequential, but public hearing has been held, site visit has been held, and now we're voting on it. So the committee hopes that you will adopt such.
All right. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous for everybody that could vote.
I missed it.
And that brings us to number 3.
We have a memorandum from the city engineer, along with 2 resolutions dealing with the appropriation of funds for the Patricia T. Russell Park and the Carpenter Street Flood Management Project, and they include Resolution R 2022-16, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Patricia T. Russell Park Capital Project, and Resolution R 2022-19, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Carpenter Street Flood Management Project.
And these will be referred to the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee. Number 4.
Again, a memo from the city engineer, this one dealing with the George Street Bridge. It has Resolution R 2217, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the George Street Bridge Replacement Project.
And this will also be referred to the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee. That brings to an end our regular agenda. We do not have a non-public. I want to thank everybody for your time and attention tonight, and we stand adjourned.
Boom. Yes.